Hey, how's it going, guys? It's TheLlamaSir here, and welcome back to another Rocket League video. And in this one, guys, I have got for you this updates episode of 10 changes that you probably missed. So this series always goes over really well, and I love doing it because when Psyonix announces these updates, they always add in these sort of secret changes, whether they're bug fixes, little additional features, but they're not exactly things that people notice right away, but they're always just super cool to know about. So as always, we're going to be going through 10 of those things here today with the second anniversary update. So with that being said, if you guys learned something new from this video, be sure to hit that like button, and without further ado, let's jump into it here. Alright guys, so starting this off, I thought what better way to start it than with some sort of secret items that were added into the game. So these items specifically, we got one brand new antenna, 2 flags, and I think 1 updated flag, alongside all of those other Rick and Morty items that we already talked about, which are honestly pretty great. I honestly love those quite a bit. But these flags and antennas, they were pretty secretly added, but they're actually some pretty cool ones. So starting it off here with one of the most flashy, and this is just like the modeled antenna, we get the Jinx Antenna, which is representative of the company that hosts Rocket League's like merchandise site. So all of their shirts and stuff, they go through the company named Jinx, and this is kind of their logo, which is actually a very awesome looking one. Now, is it as good as this guy right here? I don't really know, but it is sick and was kind of a hidden one, which makes it pretty cool. Now, as for the flags, the first one that they said was updated was the Gfinity flag, which, you know, pretty cool. It's kind of a white and red one, which honestly goes good with my this one right here. That actually looks pretty sick, but pretty cool, pretty cool. And then moving on to one of the brand new ones, we have the Monster Cat flag. So this one, pretty basic, you know, got that Monster Cat logo in the black and white, but you gotta have it along with that Monster Cat decal. It honestly looks very nice. Then for the final one, pretty simple one here with the X Games logo, again on a black flag, but it's pretty cool. Again, fits that red and white style, but overall a lot of interesting antennas that were kind of secretly added, but are definitely a good thing to have. But moving on to the second thing here, we have 9 more of these secrets to go, and this one is actually a pretty big one that a lot of people wanted to be fixed, and I'm not really sure if they did fix it that well, but Psyonix did confirm that they changed the way that car bumping and demolition works. Now when I say change, they more so just made it easier to get demolitions, because recently there have been a ton of complaints about missed demolitions and people just running into cars at supersonic speed, but because of the angle, weird things were happening, they weren't getting the demos, and the system was just kind of messed up at the time. Now apparently in this update, and you might have already kind of felt a change, but demolitions are seemingly easier to get. So specifically what Psyonix said is that they fixed a bug with car bumps and demolishes. That doesn't quite sound right, but then these could cause them to be ignored at wider collision angles. So again, what that basically means is that it should be easier to get demolitions, and I want to hear if you guys think they're easier or still have issues with them, because my personal feeling about them is that it is significantly easier to get demolished, and it kind of seems like you get demolished now at times that you shouldn't get demolished. Like for some reason I've started to experience a ton of demolitions, like when I'm going for a 50-50, I hit the ball and happen to run into the other car. Either I get demolished or they get demolished, and that just doesn't seem quite right. But either way, they did change it, and it's something to keep in mind when you are going for demolitions. Now getting back to a quick little secret thing that has to do with another item that was added in this update, but nobody really has access to at the moment. This has to do with the Decennial Pro Wheels. So these wheels I am super excited for. I will in fact be getting a code to redeem these, which I cannot wait to get. But with that being said, Psyonix did confirm that these codes will be sent out later this month. Now I don't know why the codes are taking so long to get sent out, considering that the wheels are actually in the game, but apparently that's when people are going to get them. But that's not the thing I really want to talk about. The big thing that has to do with these wheels is that they are not tradable. That's right, I really had no clue that these would not be tradable. It's honestly something that's kind of different from the previous things that they've done, like with the Zeg Toys items, the Fast and Furious Gearlock wheels. All of those were tradable, but for some reason these Decennium Pro wheels are not tradable. So kind of an interesting choice. I mean, these wheels will still be sick and just be cool to have, but it's the first item besides season rewards that hasn't been tradable. So pretty interesting and something to think about. Now as for a feature that was added that is honestly pretty awesome and something I think they should have done like right from the start, but this change is pretty simple, and it is that they updated the car preset slots that you can have from 10 all the way up to 50. So yes, finally we can have more than 10 presets, and honestly have way more than I think any of us will ever need to go through. So a simple feature, but just one of those convenience ones that is awesome to have. Now as for the 5th secret, and this one is kind of one of the more obvious ones, but builds off of this 50 preset type thing, but now at the end of every match you have an option to switch through your presets right at that screen. So for example, say you just complete a game and you're playing with like the Dominus and you're ready to go for a rematch or just re-queue and find extra players, you can switch to like an Octane preset and just go straight from there. You don't have to tell the party leader to back out to the main menu because you have to go into your garage and cycle through your presets until you find the one you want. Now you can just do it right from the endgame screen, and it's just a great thing to have. But moving on again here, this one is a secret option that you can find, of course, in the options menu, but it's something that every single platform gets, and it's not exactly the most useful thing, but it's still something to know about and maybe mess around with. But if you go into the options menu and then cycle through to the controls portion, you can see that right below controller dead zone, there's a brand new slider for dodge dead zone. Now, of course, you're probably wondering what exactly this changes, and it's honestly not that big of a deal, but it changes exactly how far you have to move the analog stick to perform a directional dodge. So in other words, it's how far you have to like push the thumbstick upwards to do a front flip after your initial jump. Now with that being said, it is currently at the default setting that I'm pretty sure it was at before you could actually change it. But if you do want to go in and change it, maybe you're getting annoyed with like accidentally doing a backflip when you mean to go up for an aerial, you can change it around to make it so that you like have to move the analog stick all the way in one direction before you actually do a flip. So definitely a cool option, not quite as crucial as just the normal dead zone, but still something to mess around with. Now as for an option that has to do with replays, and this is an awesome one. This is one that a lot of people have been wanting, and something again that I think they should have included from the very beginning, but with replays, and this is also the same for spectator mode, but they finally included the boost meter and also the rumble timer in these replays in spectator mode. So yeah, such a simple little addition, but it's just such a great thing to have, because you know, it was always something that just kind of felt off about replays. Like you'd get a sick goal, you'd save the replay, you were so excited to watch it, and without having like the boost meter there, it just kind of felt weird. I don't know if I can really explain it better than that, but this kind of just helps it act like an actual replay, like you're rewatching exactly what you did in game. You can see how much boost you have left, and it just makes it that much better. So I'm super happy they added this. It's definitely a feature I've been wanting, and it actually kind of relates to this next secret feature I wanted to talk about, and that is how now when you click a button to sort of bookmark a replay when you're in the middle of a game, if that game happens to not go your way, or if for some reason you have to leave the game, an extra pop-up message now shows up that lets you choose to save the replay for as much as you were in the game. So for example, say you score a sick goal and for some reason you have to leave the game after that, and also after you click the button to bookmark the replay, now when you leave, you're still able to save the replay. So that by itself just another awesome feature. So pretty much you'll never accidentally get rid of a replay or an awesome goal, which you know is definitely a great thing to have. Now as for the second to last thing I wanted to talk about, with the last thing actually being a pretty big one that you'll definitely want to hear, but this first of the two secrets is still pretty interesting because it has to do with something that was changed in the previous update, and that is how the decals hexed and also the snake skin were changed back to how they were before the previous update. So if you missed the previous video where I talked about how they changed a few decals, they ended up changing Tora, hexed, and snake skin. With Tora actually being on purpose, they made it look a lot better, but then with these other two decals, hexed and snake skin, they arguably made them look better as well, but apparently this was on accident somehow. So basically the decals just kind of looked more defined, like especially hexed looked a little more 3D, like the hexagons kind of were engraved into the car itself, and the same thing with the snake skin, like the scales kind of rose up from the car. It made it look better, but apparently they changed them back to how they were originally. So for example, hex changed from this kind of again more 3D back to the more 2D texture on the right. And as for the snake skin, again it changed from having more of like a shadow beneath the scales to going back to a sort of just 3D indentation for those scales. So I'll leave it up to you whether or not you think that is a better change or kind of a negative change. Again, they're not really the most popular decals, but it's still an interesting change that they made. However, it doesn't quite compare to this next change, but this one is pretty interesting and fairly big, I would say, because it has to do with car standardization changes. Now, first of all, I do want to note that they were kind of vague of how much this affects cars, but basically what they said is that they implemented a new type of car standardization that minimizes differences in handling and hitbox between cars of the same type. And then they go on to say, for this initial release, this affects the following cars, and it's pretty much every single car in the game. However, all of these cars fall under 5 different categories now. So first of all, you have the Octane type, which of course includes the Octane, Octane ZSR, Takumi, and Takumi RXT. Then you have the Dominus, which includes the Dominus, Dominus GT, Hotshot. Then you have the Plank, which is obviously the flat cars like the Batmobile, Mantis, Paladin, Twin Mill, Sentio, which is immediately followed by the Breakout type car with the Breakout, Breakout Type S, the brand new new Animus GP, which was kind of a surprise to see that it would perform more like a breakout. But either way, you then have the final type, which is the hybrid type, which is the Venom X Devil, and finally the Endo. But also this hybrid type, they said, is sort of like a middle ground between the Octane and Dominus. So yeah, generally now when you're picking cars, these are the categories they're going to fall in for pretty much how they perform and handle. Now again, I said this was kind of vague, and what I mean by that is that I don't really know how much it affects things like the Takumi being in the Octane type. Like, is it going to have the same hitbox as the Octane? Is it going to have the same exact turning radius? I can't really say for sure, but I'd assume in the future when they do keep including new cars, they will pretty much match these stats exactly. So overall, pretty cool. It takes a little bit of the guesswork out of which car is better and how big of a difference one car has to the other, and it's something that I think will work out pretty well. But with that being said, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys learned something new, and as always, if you did, be sure to hit that like button and do not forget to subscribe if you're new for more of these types of videos in the near future. And if you like secrets, check out my previous video here of secret brisk items and painted halo toppers, as well as a video on the right of a huge crate opening of a ton of painted items. But other than that, guys, again, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm TheLlamaSir, and I will see you guys next time.